Good morning everybody, good morning, it's JPR and welcome back to another video. Today, April 1st, marks the 25th anniversary of the Pokemon anime's first episode, all the way back in 1997. So, as much as I'd love to make another April Fool's Day video about my love for NASCAR 2005 Chase for the Cup, that part wasn't a joke actually. I figured it would be a fitting occasion to look back and see just how bad each of Ash's league losses really were. After all, he was clowned on for 22 of those 25 years for not winning a league, so just how many of these L's were deserved, and how many had some amount of chicanery involved? Let's find out. So kicking this video off is the loss that I think is the most justified, but also, at the time of it happening, was by far the most controversial. Ash's Kalos League loss against Alon. If you were present on that fateful day in 2016, you probably thought that Ash took the most lethal L in human history. Fans revolted against the staff, left mass dislikes in the preview for the upcoming Team Flare arc, and even some of the animators of the episode later admitted that even they were disappointed by the creative decision for Ash to lose once again. It truly seemed like Ash was at his strongest in the XY series, and I can certainly understand why this loss was so controversial. This was Ash's 6th league loss in 19 years, and it was the first time that Ash had ever advanced to the final round of the league. Not to mention that he also had the power of the legendary Hero Greninja on his side. There are some other things that people were upset about too, like the fact that Ash's water type lost against the fire type move Blast Burn, even though we've seen countless times before that type matchups really don't matter that much in the anime. And need I remind you that this is the same show where Pikachu managed to KO an Onix with Thunder Shock? Or literally a couple episodes prior, Greninja KO'd a Mega Sceptile with Water Shuriken of all things. But I didn't see hashtag Justice for Sawyer trending on Twitter, so where were y'all? There's also the fact that the episode in Japan was titled Kalos League Victory, Ash's Ultimate Battle, which kinda makes it sound like he was going to win. But hey, as a YouTuber, I respect their attempt at some good clickbait. Technically, a Kalos League victory did happen. It just wasn't the one that we wanted it to be. But community shenanigans aside, the battle itself is quite a great one. And it certainly helped that Alon is the only character to defeat Ash in a league that wasn't just lazily introduced as a last-minute roadblock. This man had his own mini-series where we saw him take on everything from legendary Pokemon to Elite Four members. And by the end of it, he was dang near unbeatable. It's safe to say that his Mega Charizard X is easily one of the strongest Pokemon to ever exist in the anime. Ash's loss here may have been his most disappointing, but it's far from his worst. Plus, Alon only considered entering the Kalos League after XY episode 116. By episode 123, he had already won 8 badges. Yeah, he won 8 badges in 7 episodes' time. If that isn't a world record speedrun for the anime, I'm not sure what is. Say what you will, but Alon was certainly a deserving champion. Ash's second least offensive loss, I would say, is against Harrison in the Johto League Conference. Let's be real, we all got what we wanted when Ash finally defeated Gary in this league. Anything else was just icing on the cake. Not only did Harrison prove himself to be a formidable opponent for Ash, but it's also understandable that Ash would be at a disadvantage going up against a Pokemon that he had never seen before, that being Blaziken. Ultimately, this battle would be the catalyst that led Ash to explore the Hoenn region with a completely clean slate, a tradition that he has upheld through every subsequent series. With that in mind, I would say that this is probably Ash's most influential loss, which counts for something. But above all else, there wasn't any chicanery. It was a good, clean fight, and probably Ash's least controversial loss of them all. I only put this below Alon because Harrison was a last-minute addition to the series. He wasn't a character whose growth we got to directly witness, but at least we got to infer that, like Ash, this was probably his second league if he came from the Hoenn region, making him a trainer of equal experience. Ash's third league loss is also the third loss that we're covering in this video, his Hoenn League loss against Tyson. Now, I know, this fight isn't great. It's probably one of the weakest full battles in the entire 25-year history of the anime, arguably the worst fight in this video, and certainly the most forgettable of them all. They completely rushed through almost a full 6-on-6 battle in only one episode, and of course they have to cut away to Team Rocket shenanigans and Ash's friends making their dumb remarks every few minutes. So as a result, almost every interaction in this battle is over in about 1 or 2 strikes. I've accused Journeys of being rushed before, but honestly, I didn't remember how awfully paced this match was. This is the epitome of rushed. But remember, we're ranking how justified the loss is, not the battle itself. Just like Harrison, Tyson is yet another last-minute addition to the series, so we're not off to a great start. But like Alon, at least Tyson went on to win the league instead of immediately taking the L like Harrison did. So Ash did lose to the strongest trainer there. A lot of people seem to dislike that Pikachu ended up losing to a Meowth of all things, but it's not like this is the only time in the anime where a Pokemon became far stronger than it normally should be. I mean, that's literally what Ash's Pikachu is. So there's no reason this Meowth couldn't be on its same level. At any rate, while the episode itself is undoubtedly one of the worst, the loss itself isn't a horrible one. It's probably the last one on this list that isn't horribly insulting either, so prepare yourselves for what's ahead. Now we have officially crossed the threshold from acceptable losses to downright despicable ones. Coming in at number 3 on our list is Ash's Sinnoh League loss against Tobias. Easily the most ludicrous of them all, but unlike the coming battles, there are at least some redeeming factors. Obviously, it just screams cheap when you have to pull out a trainer who exclusively uses mythical and legendary Pokemon at the last second when Ash just defeated his greatest rival, Paul, and looked to be in prime position to win his first league. To this day, I am convinced that this was a direct consequence of us all buying action replays. The Pokemon Company got mad at us for cheating and said, "Here, how do you like it now?" But that's the obvious downside of this fight, and don't get me wrong, it's a big one. But as I said before, there are some small positives. First, I'll give it a point because Tobias did win the league. I mean, could you imagine if he lost? Probably not, but it's still a good thing that didn't happen. Secondly, Ash does become the only person in the entire Sinnoh region to defeat Tobias' Darkrai, something even the other finalists couldn't do. So we can confidently say that although he finished in the top 4, he was most likely the second strongest trainer there. He even follows this up by defeating Latios, although it does ultimately result in him losing the battle. Still, taking out 2 of Tobias' Pokemon when nobody else could even manage 1 is extremely impressive. Plus, I'll say it, this was far from Ash's best team. In fact, it was probably one of his worst from this tournament. Like, I'm not trying to diss Torkoal and Swellow, but they were in way over their heads here. I'm not saying that Ash would have won if he had used his best possible team, but the boy was clearly not packing all the heat that he could have. And like the Johto League, Ash still accomplished the part that he came here to do. He beat Paul, so it's not like he got absolutely nothing out of this league. Even the Hoenn League didn't really have that since Morrison was barely a rival to begin with. So yeah, this battle may be the cop-out to end all cop-outs, but hey, at least it served as a great measuring stick for how far Ash had come. And now we've arrived at Ash's second worst league loss. His loss against Richie in the Indigo League. This was a pretty crappy way to finish off Ash's first league, and at the time many thought it may have been his only league. Could you imagine if this was the way that Ash left the anime, losing because his Charizard decided to disobey his orders? Of course, Richie is yet another case of a last-minute introduction, and it certainly doesn't help that he's basically another version of Ash/Red. He even uses the same Pokemon that Ash has owned at one point. The battle itself only lasts about 5 minutes too, making it by far the shortest one here. I will say though, there's a reason this loss isn't number 1. Like Ash vs. Alon, I'm pretty sure this loss cut extremely deep back when it happened, but in retrospect, it's kinda believable. Ash hadn't earned Charizard's trust yet, and he knew that going in. Yet he chose to gamble on it for the win, when he could have relied on nearly any of his other Pokemon. It was his own inexperience and risky bet that cost him this battle. I know Pidgeotto was exhausted and he didn't exactly have ample prep time thanks to Team Rocket, but other options were available. With that being said though, there are still some aspects of this battle that haven't aged well. First of all, they must have hired those NFL lockout referees because deeming Ash's Squirtle unable to battle just because it got put to sleep was kinda whack. And Charizard not obeying Ash being grounds for disqualification is also quite sus. Not to mention that Pikachu was also very tired from battling against Team Rocket earlier in the episode, so all around, Ash did get kinda jobbed on this one. But certainly still not as bad as our number 1 loss. That's right, it's Ash versus Cameron from the Unova League. Now, I'll preface this fight by saying, do I think Best Wishes Ash deserved to be remotely close to winning this league? No. Compared to previous series, his team was very underwhelming, it didn't go through the vigorous training arcs that his Hoenn and Sinnoh teams did, and in general, Ash was kinda off his game in Unova. We all know this. But that does not mean he should lose to the one trainer in the region who was less competent than he was. Cameron was late to register for the league, he only brought 5 Pokemon to a full battle, and he thought the Unova League would take place in the Johto region for some reason. His entire strategy boiled down to using his secret weapon Hydreigon to just sweep Ash out of the gate. And when Cameron's back is against the wall in the most cliche fashion possible, his Riolu evolves into Lucario and manages to blow Ash's 3-1 lead clean away. Because almost every Lucario in the anime has to have like, I don't know, about a 1000 base stat total. But the cherry on top is the absolutely horrid title of this episode in Japanese. Unova League Conclusion, Pikachu vs. Lucario. You know good and well, Ash isn't going to win this fight, the semifinals, and the finals all in one episode, so this title spoiled the end result far before the episode had even aired. This might be the worst episode title in the history of episode titles. At least with Ash vs. Alon, it was good clickbait. This is like anti-clickbait. This episode is a complete embarrassment from start to bitter end. It is easily one of the worst episodes of all time, and that's saying something because there are 2 other episodes in the Unova League arc alone that compete with it for that title. Does anybody remember the XU filler episode that happened in the middle of the league? Anybody? I'm sorry, but not even Unova Ash deserved a loss this bad. It genuinely feels insulting to watch. But thankfully, ever since then, it seems like they've been a lot more cognizant of recognizing Ash's skills as a trainer. Hopefully we won't get anything nearly this bad ever again. But if you want to witness some truly great battles, then I'd highly recommend checking out my buddy Lumiose Trainer Zach's video about the top 25 greatest battles. It's a great video with tons of fellow Poketubers being featured, including a voice that should be very familiar to you all, so don't miss it. But before you head over there, if you enjoyed this video, it would mean the world to me if you consider subscribing and also leaving a like on this video. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.